Alright, so we're here again with another top 10 tier list, and we're doing top 10 easy ATRs for specifically Dokkan Festival exclusives. So we've had a couple of days using TEQ Trunks, we've had, some time using AGL Zamasu, and it's been some time since the last tier list, which was Physical Beerus was like the last easy ATR that really came out. No, we had Transforming Vegeta, I think, but I don't know if I did a tier list for him, but it's been some time. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna just do this tier list here. I brought together 10 units who I think would fit the best here. And we'll start at number 10, which in my opinion is one of the most disappointing EZAs of this celebration, and that is Physical Transforming Vegeta. And I mean, this guy, it's like he could cook once you get to like Super Saiyan God, but he's in a situation where he's never gonna tank supers. His damage is pretty pitiful until you like get to Super Saiyan God or Blue. He needs orb changing for him to get the 7 key spheres for him to even double super for this to go into effect. He's just not good really, even though he's on all these teams. He takes way too long to build up to like a decent level, even for an EZTUR. And it's like his orb changing isn't even guaranteed until he goes Super Saiyan 2. At the very least, it's type to type orb changing. But I don't know. Even with like, he looks like on paper he'd be much better than he actually is in game, honestly. So it is kind of funny. But until he goes Blue, I just like don't like what I'm seeing here, honestly. And I should probably turn off chat just in case we're live on YouTube, just in case chat wants to say something funny. I don't know what chat was saying here, but we just, I don't know, just like he could do some good damage when he's transformed. It makes the entire key sphere feel too physical. He gets the guaranteed crit. Double supers with 5 key spheres instead is pretty good, but I don't know. Like this is like turn 10, and it's like, throughout these forms he's just not kind of really cooking, so it's unfortunate, but he's at number 10 here. But yeah, so now let's talk about our number 9 spot, which is kind of also funny. We have EZA STR Cooler. Now I mean, I feel like these guys are kind of like, this guy defensively probably is better than what this easy STR Cooler is defensively, just because he can get the guaranteed additional double super attacks and all this stuff. But I think this unit is still pretty good for some villain teams overall, like considering that there's like 2 options for villains or something right now, right? And he still has this gigantic 50% support, so I just feel like his value as a unit is just greater than what Vegeta is doing. And I feel like you'll probably just get not only just a lot more use out of this guy, but you probably will just be a little better overall as a unit, compared to the Transforming Vegeta, who's pretty weak early on. While this guy is like a little weak early on, he can build up to decent defensive levels for an easy ATUR. Not really taking super attacks, of course, but I think it's the real difference is that support, which is why I kind of like him above the Transforming Vegeta. But yeah, that's just me personally here. That's why I have him at 9. Not really much of a difference, essentially, but I know a lot of people like this cooler, so I bet some people are very frustrated. They're like, well, actually, Easy STR Cooler is he provides 50 million damage to STR Cooler, whatever. I'm not even gonna get to that. We're joking around here. Wait, okay, it's 4 a.m. You can tell I've gotten no sleep. Anyways, next we have STR Super Buu right here, another extreme STR unit. So I have STR Super Buu above Easy STR Cooler. I think that's really, when you get like to these transformations, he is cooking quite well. This guy does actually have a great lore attack debuff, which I guess this Cooler also has too, which is like somewhat useful against some of these like stages, like even Omega Shenron, his first stage could be debuffed with attack. We have a bunch of these like different phases that can actually have their attack debuffed, so that will be helpful for a lot of situations. This guy in this first form, not really impressive, honestly. He's like fine, right? He's okay. But again, once we consider like Buu Ultimate Gohan, this dude is just way better than like these two. It's just there's a little bit of an unbalance between Super Buu and Ultimate Gohan Buu. But dude, the amount of power this guy has, if it was this Buu Ultimate Gohan turn 1, this guy would be like up here even. Like that Buu Ultimate Gohan is really, really, really good. With his guard chance, I think he's triple supering. You could do like a 12 mil to a like 14 mil to like a 15 mil attack stat, and this guy is really insane. One issue with him, he doesn't have the Majin Buu team for him to fully succeed, unfortunately. If we talk about his other teams, Buu Piccolo is pretty solid. I think Buu Piccolo is like a nice option too. In slot 2 as a support unit, the 100% defense, the damage reduction 50%, right? He could be fine. I like this Buu Piccolo quite a bit. Another downside to this guy though is Buu Gotenks is pretty bad. Buu Gotenks is bad. He's even better than Super Buu. Like, let's be real, is Buu Gotenks better than Super Buu? Maybe? It's not really much of a difference. So, yeah, but I think this Buu's overall is fine. I mean, you could use him on, like, Zamasu's team. I've seen some people say, like, oh, I've used STR Super Buu on Zamasu's team. Or LR Super Buu. I've told a lot of people to have me, like, try him on the team. I'm not really a fan of trying to, like, use him on those teams. But, I mean, people maybe will be able to get away with that. I think that's cool, right? Just a little extra option there. But, yeah, that's why Super Buu... yeah, I think 8 is a good spot for him. I mean, I wouldn't say he's bad, but you're gonna have to use him in certain situations and kind of play a little smarter with him than other units on this list, right? All right, that's 8. So now for 7, we have Physical 17, which honestly, maybe I'm a little bit bigger of a fan than Physical 17 than a lot of people here. Where is this boy at? Physical 17, there he is. But I do think that Physical 17, with his reduction and the support, is so valuable. This all allies 3 and 60% defense support is really good. I feel like this under 77% HP is not really hard to get in difficult content a lot, but it's like a very night and day difference where if you have this up, he's a god. 57% damage reduction. He's giving all allies 3 key and 77% defense. Like, his defense stat, probably around a good... how much defense does he get once he actually super attacks? If he has, like, Android Assault and stuff like that active, you can get to, like, 400-500k defense range even. With 57% damage reduction, that's a lot. This guy could tank basically almost every super attack in the game very easily. But it really is an issue of... this guy wants to build up early, and then he only has a 17% reduction basically early on. So, like, if you get this guy, like, turn 1, and he needs to build up, he'll take quite a bit of damage if he's not type advantage before he builds up all that defense. And if you're, like, floating him off constantly, and, like, let's say you get to the end of the fight in, like, Physical Sin, and you don't have the HP proc, you will feel the damage that this guy will take. But overall, I think that his strengths outweigh, like, compared to Super Buu, what this Super Buu is doing overall. And I think that his reduction is something you will see a good amount of time in difficult content, the full 57%. So I like him quite a bit, and hopefully over time you'll get more and more teams or more and more setups. I mean, Androids is not really in the best spot right now either. Really, this guy, who he really helps is, like, on superheroes with, like, Orange Piccolo and the Gammas. That's I feel like that guy's best setup right now, which is definitely, like, good. That setup is still very, very, really good for most of the events in the game. So yeah, that's why I like the 17 here at this 7 spot. Funny enough, he's 17, right? Number 6, we have TEQ Trunks, right? We'll talk about TEQ Trunks. So I do actually have him above 17, and I feel like you can convince me even to put 17 above this Trunks. I think that where I like this Trunks better is that he's basically just a better transforming Vegeta, which is not to say that's anything like amazing or anything hard to do even. But I mean, that's essentially what he is. He's just a better transforming Vegeta. Turn 3, he has the crit chance built in, like compared to Vegeta, who has to wait till like turn 10 for that. This guy can get a lot of super attacks with the 50% attack and defense stacking for free, right? He does give super class allies 2 key support, which I feel like is pretty good, and something that maybe people will overlook. That 2 key support, I think, is pretty good. And if we're talking about like longer events, like let's say Omega Shenron, for instance, or you know, a lot of situations where 17 doesn't have his full reduction, this Trunks is able to consistently tank a lot of normals in the game, compared to 17, who will take a lot of damage from some of these normals in the game, right? And he will also do more damage, and he still is providing some sort of support ability. Well, 17, you know, he's kind of a little in... I feel like the HP restriction is not something you can control necessarily, as much as, like, you know, this guy with his stacks or anything like that, right? And he does build up over time, so with those longer content events, he is able to cook pretty well. Also, I see Annie in the I'm live. I see Annie saying he's gonna go. Thanks for joining by Annie with the stream. But that's the thing about him specifically, and I like his sort of hope version. Actually, I think they did a pretty good job with this as like a finisher, and I've seen a lot of situations where you have this guy with Bulma, and then essentially you just nuke like the boss. Like, I've nuked Omega Shenron with this guy. I've seen people nuke Sin Shenron with this guy. Even the Rose Goku Black boss, you can kind of stall and nuke with this guy or finish him off, right? And he's able to just do quite a bit of damage. There are setups where you could like take advantage of this guy and just like absolutely one-shot the boss, which I don't want to also like not discount for sure. But again, the issue with this guy again is obviously the fact that he is pretty weak in this first form, and then in the first turn especially he's pretty weak, but he's never able to tank supers, right? Not ever being able to tank super attacks is definitely an issue. And I think that as we go higher in the list, you'll see that basically all these best EZAs have like reduction or guard that'll allow them to eat super attacks pretty well compared to what this Trunks is doing. So that's why I have him here at the number 6 spot. Now I have Physical Beerus at number 5 here. And again, I think Physical Beerus is a unit that will get better as time goes on, hopefully, if we get more and more Realm of Gods. Funny enough, we have a Realm of Gods boss against the Rose Goku Black, and we're assumingly gonna get a Zamasu boss, maybe even like a Goku Black and Zamasu stage together, where they're gonna be Realm of Gods enemies. And if those are like, again, Rose Goku Black's already one of the hardest fights, but if those turn one of the hard fights as well, which I assume they'll also be like as difficult at bare minimum, if not more difficult than like even the Omega Shenron, then this guy with his orb changing and super effective is going to become a lot more valuable here. And the thing about him, he gets 70% damage reduction before he attacks if he gets 7 key spheres, and then after he super attacks, he does get 100. No, actually, even before he supers, he gets the 150% defense right here, which is pretty good, and that's a multiplicative buff here, and he still keeps 40% reduction just in general, so he's able to even tank super attacks after this guy is able to attack, which is really, really good. I guess he would probably want better partners. I don't think any of the recent like partners for this, like any of the recent like god units, I don't believe that they would actually link that well with him. Like, you know, let's say Zamasu or anything like that, right? Like, see, none of these characters that have been coming out. Well, I guess this guy, right? But he sucks. Physical God Goku links solidly well with him. But, you know, I guess what this guy's missing is a real good partner. Like another Whis unit, or just maybe like a different name, a Beerus unit maybe. Not that I think that'll be coming, but yeah. I love Beerus and Whis is his best friend right now. And, like, they're a solid unit, but for sure. Also, I got a super chat. Thank you very much. Keep up the grind, love the content. Thank you. So yeah, thank you a lot. We're so deep in cheeks. Okay, but again, Another thing with this Beerus is the active skill, which could be used 70% HP or less on the 4th turn. Not too bad. This gives him the 50% extra attack and defense, and he's super effective, which is pretty good. That'll give him quite a lot of stats, and he's basically able to also nuke the enemy. So I like this guy a lot. I think that Beerus is quite good, and you know, as time goes on, if we get more and more Realm of Gods bosses like we have been getting recently, it'll just be always good in those stages. So that's a nice little home for this guy. Now next we have AGL Blue Gogeta. I think we all know how good this guy is. AGL Blue Gogeta. A little fishy starting off with a high chance to dodge, but you know, compared to many of these units, it's just an unrestricted high chance to dodge here. You float him off, you transform with him into Blue Gogeta, and then this guy with his 70% chance to dodge can still do solid damage now. He's linking with the new blues, he's linking with the, you know, 5th anniversary Blue Fusion LRs, right? Just guaranteed crits. A lot of teams. It's very easy to use. Saiyan unit, good link set. Not much really to say. I mean, maybe he needs this stack at least doubled for him to like consistently tank normals. Otherwise, he may be a situation where like, oh, he's a dodge or die unit, which is definitely very fair. But I feel like comparing him to the other units on this team, he at least has a much better chance at surviving than these other units, and his damage and like defense and overall is not like that much better, right? If we're gonna compare him to other easy TURs. So that's why I do have him at the number 4 spot. I think he's just a nice little easy unit to use, very simple, but it is still pretty good overall. Now we're gonna get to what I consider like the big 3 here, and I actually have Blue Kaioken at 3 this time, which is maybe surprising to a lot of people because his power is definitely like 2 or even 1 if you want. I think that, again, as time goes on, he's not getting these Universe Survival Saga buffs. He's just not in the place you want him to use. And with a lot of these events recently being very short burst events, it's hard for him to build up his stats as effectively, I feel, even with the guard ability. And, you know, you see with the team, it is a little bit of an issue. The Spirit Bomb is so good though, and he as a unit himself is able to cook very, very well in like every single event in the game if you're able to get that Spirit Bomb off. But again, it's like very weird for me to rate this unit because of the fact that his team sucks, and that's all there is to it. Excuse me. If we're comparing to Physical Piccolo, which I actually feel like I like at 2 right now, it's like Physical Piccolo, he's not as strong as Blue Kaioken Goku. Like, there's no way he's like, it's very difficult. Like, in terms of his strength offensively and what he's providing defensively, I just don't know if it's as strong as what this Blue Kaioken Goku's doing. But there's so many strong Piccolo Namekians on the team. Piccolo Jr., LR Orange Piccolo, right? Even the STR Piccolo. This condition is not that terrible to get considering he's healing a lot. You have Namekians linked for healing, right? Teams could be very tanky. So if you're running like a tanky super class team, like let's say Orange Piccolo, Double Orange Piccolo, and you know, you have all this HP recovery, you know, and you're of course very tanky, like I said, you'll be looking pretty good over there. Which is going to be quite nice for you. And the stacking defense, he has the scouter ability, he gets the reduction once he transforms, and then he's just tanking everything. But it's like this guy does like one-shot damage against every boss ever. It's just that he's more restricted, so I don't know. Let me know what you guys are thinking. If I would say these two are in the same tier, but I'm a defensive guy. It's very, like, maybe he's just too strong. I think I'll keep it like Blue Kaioken here for now, because he's just too strong, even with his restrictions. He's just that guy. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people in chat wanted me to put Piccolo there, but I think he's just too important for a lot of these units, right? So that's why I would put Piccolo, Blue Kaioken Goku there. But I think AGL Zamasu is just, I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of us have used AGL Zamasu both you know, versions have is GZA, but I mean, he's just so good. Starting off, he's a little like interesting, but he has 30% HP recovery. He still has a reduction. The stacking defense, giving extreme class allies ki is so good. And then when he's transformed, he's double supering, stacking defense, 50% reduction, supporting. He heals HP like still like 10% above under 90%, which is very easy to get off. And then if he receives 5 attacks, he receives 10% HP recovery at the end of turn. And he's even doing solid damage, like usually like double 8 mils, you know, that could build up to like double 9 mils, given the attack stacking that you get with this guy. Support, just nasty. And he's able to live like every super attack. And then this Fusion Zamasu, he's just doing disgusting damage. What, like 15 mil to 16 mil to 17 mil, or even beyond that. He's able to still tank basically so many of these super attacks in the game, because even though he only has 30% reduction, he gets the 50% defense on super attack, which would multiply against any stacks he gets. So like he's like 700k defense with 30% reduction, and he's doing all that damage, and then he has a high chance to crit. And then if you put him dodge, he could dodge. He's just disgusting. He could double super. No, he could triple super in a turn, because if you get 2 super attacks off, then he gets a 3rd super attack guaranteed. So, I don't know. This guy's good. I mean, not really much to say. But again, if we're doing this, here's the, like, tiers, kind of, where we have Zamasu, Blue Kaioken, Piccolo here. I think Beerus and Gogeta belong together on a tier. Trunks, 17, and Super Buu probably in, like, a tier together, I'm thinking. And then these two right here, I guess, as a tier. But, that is it for the tier list. Let me know what you guys think about the tier list. I think that's not really too arguable. I think that a lot of people's opinions would be fine, but it's like, you know, if you're gonna be like, oh, 17 is better than Trunks, like, okay, sure, I don't really care. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.